correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome to Me and Steve Talk RPG, the podcast where me and my friend Steve try and help you get the most out of your role-playing game experience. Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to Me and Steve Talk RPGs. I'm Steve, and I'm here tonight with Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Nice to hear, nice to hear. Well, we're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to talk about a place where we get to have lots of fun. But before we do that, we've got a podcast of the week to talk about in our D20 Network Spotlight.
Yeah, we do. We're going to talk about the OP cast.
Yes, the OP cast is Chaz, formerly of The Story Told, and Josh Heath from Werewolf the Podcast.
Currently of a lot of things.
Yes, currently of a lot of things, high-level games, and et cetera, and so on. And I believe there's another co-host or two involved, but they talk about the Trinity Continuum series from, I guess now it's Onyx Path.
Yeah, it would be Onyx Path at this point, but
Yeah, Aberrant,
was
Aeon.
White Wolf. Yeah.
What is the third one? Is it
Aberrant,
Aeon,
Trinity Continuum?
is it just Trinity Continuum? I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
But anyway,
that game's really cool and really confusing. And we had them on, well, at least part of them on.
They both Josh and Chaz have been on, but not together.
Right. We had Josh on to talk about, I think, or who did we have on? We had somebody.
We had Chaz on to talk about like World of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness, all that. That was quite a while back. And then I think I don't remember if you had internet problems or whatever at the time. I had Josh on to talk Werewolf. And then we had Josh on to talk Army Men.
Right.
Not too long
That was it. Sorry. I'm getting we're at over 100 episodes at this point.
Yes.
Hard to keep track.
But yeah, and it's the OP cast, literally as it's spelled, OP cast. I'll put a link in the show notes, but I don't remember what the address is off the top of my head. So you'll have to scroll down and click the link to find that out. So, yeah, you can find that and all kinds of other gaming goodness at d20radio.com. And with that, it's time to launch into our main topic for this week, which is a little thing that we got to experience last year called PGX, which is a local convention for us. And, coming back to talk about it with us are two of the organizers. Well, one of them's coming back. One of them's here for the first time. So welcome to me and Steve, Wizz and Colt.
Hello, glad to be here.
Gentlemen, thanks for having us back. I appreciate it. I'm glad you had a good enough time that we earned a second invite.
Well, thanks for having us back. I'm excited that we get to go to your con again this coming year. It was a really great time last time, and very excited to see what you guys have in store.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot this year. We've made a big expansion, so hopefully we're packing more stuff in this year. We've made some changes based on feedback that we received on things, and every year we're trying to refine that. So, yeah, I would love to talk.
Yeah, the size of the event is more than doubling than last year's event.
Yeah, I was going to say, for those, it's in the, what is it called, the Monroville Convention Center. I know where it is. It's a half hour from my house, but...
Yeah, that's a good problem to have. Yeah, we're at the Monroville Convention Center out in Monroville, not far from the Monroville Mall, site of a very, very famous zombie movie that many, many zombie fans flock to.
Mm-hmm. It's literally across the parking lot.
Yeah, it's like 20 minutes outside of the city of Pittsburgh. That's why it's not called the Monroville Gaming Convention. The Pittsburgh Gaming Convention or Pittsburgh Gaming Expo is because, it is really a show for the region of Pittsburgh and for the city and for, everyone that calls Pittsburgh home and everyone who likes to visit Pittsburgh. So yeah, not far from downtown.
Yeah. And actually, if you're coming in from out of town, it's about 8 minutes from the turnpike exits?
Yeah, approximately, depending on traffic.
Yeah, it depends on how many of the stoplights you get, but it's literally, basically the turnpike exit drops you out onto the road that you turn into the complex off. So that works. And yeah, it's a little bit of an odd building if no one's ever been there, because you have like one half of it is like this giant normal convention hall, right? And then you have this other room that's kind of like a big low ceilinged like social hall. And then you have another room behind that that's more like your fireman's hall. And it's kind of weird, but it works well together. But I know last year you just had the two smaller rooms. This year, as I understand, you have the whole kit and caboodle.
Yep.
Yeah. So anybody who's familiar with the Monroville Convention Center, they know that I always refer to it as the concrete side and the carpet side, for people who don't know, or even people who do, because they don't know what they actually call those two halves. And one is the South Hall, which is the carpeted side, and the North Hall, which is the concrete side with massive ceilings and whatnot. So for the last 2 years, the Pittsburgh Gaming Expo, BGX, has been held on the South Hall, which is the smaller of the two. It's still decent space.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely bigger than any gymnasium or fire hall, or probably about on par with like some of your domed athletics centers. But that's all. That's the maximum footprint of the building that we occupy, was the South Hall. And the South Hall breaks out into a main hall, and then there's a couple of like modular galleries in there that can be either used as like one room or 2 rooms or 4 rooms, however you want to break it down. Well, the show has been so wildly successful the last couple of years as far as attendance goes and vendor demand, that after last year, we made the decision that since we're not trying to just milk this thing for as much as we can with as little expense, and we want to give people the best experience that we can in the venue, we decided to expand it to the entire building, which allowed us to expand the footprint of everything, the footprint of the tabletop area, the free play area, the free play arcade, the live music space, the exhibitor hall, and even the number of tattoo artists that we have at the show, and some extra little fun things that we managed to squeeze into that space that we couldn't have never imagined doing in the South Hall alone. So, it is quite an expansion for the show.
Yeah, like the table, you were there last year. The tabletop area that we had was just under 3,000 square feet. This year we're at about 7,000 square feet of tabletop area.
Oh, wow. That's a significant jump.
Yeah.
And like last year, it worked. And given the space you had to work with, it wasn't anything you could have done, I don't think, any better. But like, well, 3 of us at least were involved in a conversation Saturday night where we're like, it's really cool, but the band's being 20 feet from the end of the tabletop area around a corner through a door made it a little hard to hear it sometimes, as cool as they were. And again, from information that I've gotten from your third partner, as I understand, the bands are going to be about where they were last year, this year, but tabletop is going to be all the way over the other corner of the building.
Literally opposite ends of the building. That was a me request. I always request to put the bands as far away from tabletop as physically possible, because I'm hard of hearing, and I have a hard time hearing people at my home game in my basement when there's nothing else going on. So I'm sensitive to that.
Yeah, you'll pretty much only be competing with the sound of the vendor floor.
Oh, that's And look, it's a convention, so some of that's to be expected, right? I mean, it is what it is. So it sounds like basically what you've done is just taken what you had and turned it up a bit. I know, again, information that you've put out, be it on social media, whatever, more bands, more tabletop, more vendors, more space. You just said more tattoo. It's really, like, I think the name says a lot, right? Pittsburgh Gaming Expo. It's not just tabletop. It's not just video games. It's sort of gaming nerd culture space.
Yep.
For sure. So I feel like we kind of like just jumped into this whole conversation very ham-fistedly because we're all so familiar with each other. We're like, let's just keep talking about the convention like everybody knows what we're talking about. So for anybody who's never been to Pittsburgh Gaming Expo, never heard about Pittsburgh Gaming Expo, it is a locally run, locally driven, sourced show for the most part. It's grown out of a social media community that originally was focused on collecting little gray cartridges, and it has grown up into this massive, pretty much celebration of everything geek and gaming related, from music to video games to arcade games to tabletop like board games, RPGs, collectible trading card games, tattoo art, because there are tons of great geeky, insanely talented tattoo artists in the region and in the country who love to come to gaming conventions and do tattoos. I get it, like, not a spur of the moment purchase for me, like not something I would do, but there are people who go to the show and are like, yeah, I want that, or they'll come to the show knowing their artist is going to be there, or an artist that they've wanted to be able to get time with. And on top of that, we have probably, I don't know, I don't want to make an unqualified claim, but I feel like we have one of the best curated gaming exhibitor halls in the region, at least. In that,
yeah.
Well, Phil just packs up and brings the store. I mean,
yeah, pretty much. Like we don't have gutter guard on the floor, you know, and no dig against gutter guard, but like if I'm paying money to go to a show and I'm trusting that that is going to be like a fire hose at full blast of gaming goodness for shopping or, you know, indulging as far as like playing goes, and that's what we want out of the show floor. So we have a bunch of local developers for tabletop gaming, and some video game developers as well that are local indie developers. So yeah, we're trying to kind of really, you know, fit as much as we can into that weekend that fits under that umbrella of gaming that doesn't involve gambling. Because I've had that question before. It's like, oh, do you mean like craps? I'm like, no, not that kind of gaming. Sorry.
No. We like to spend our money on things we aren't going to use, not bet it on games we aren't going to win.
Yeah, I gamble by buying tabletop RPG core books that and the gamble is not whether or not I like them; it's whether or not I'll ever get to play
them. You're firmly seated in the choir.
Look, if you bring books, I'll run games for you. That's all I'm saying. You bring books and free time, I'll run some games for you.
I mean, I'm excited about it just because, I mean, it was last year was actually my first convention experience, but it was a lot of fun. And even though I'm not that big of a video gamer, it was cool just walking around and seeing all the, you know, be it the free play arcade, which you had arcade cabs, pinball, and then, geez, what, 4 rows of assorted console stuff? 4 or 5, I don't know. A lot.
Which I just want to call out because there's some really, like, just because I know you don't have context for this, but I kind of do. Everything from the vector graphics stuff actually running on vector graphics machines to God Hand running on a PS2 in the back room to like just phenomenal finds that are all community donated or community lent things to run. Just absolutely insane games that you never see in person. Like I've never seen a copy of God Hand in person. Not a single one.
We had a guy running Doom on a flashlight.
Yeah, I that's bizarre.
Which is funny because that's a game where you wish you had a flashlight. And,
yeah,
you don't, but you can play it on one.
But yeah, just the video game stuff is so awesome, man. I spent the majority of my time last year just hanging out in that game room, and it's such a great hang. It's such a great convention, and I think that's the big thing for conventions is if it's a good community and it feels good to be there, you want to spend more time. And I felt great. I felt welcomed. I had an awesome time, and yeah, you guys run a fantastic show. I'm just saying that up front.
I truly, genuinely appreciate that because it is absolutely a labor of love. You know, you have to love it or else we wouldn't still be doing it because, you know, Colt and I, we still have full-time gigs that demand our time and attention and families too. And this is by no means like replacing those ventures for us. So yeah. And, you know, for me, like when I'm at the show, I'll let Colt talk to this too, but for me, like, I don't like maybe during setup, we'll get an opportunity where we're testing and nobody can see me. I'm doing air quotes on a audio podcast, but we're setting up and we're testing the show floor for the arcade and pinball and video game section. And I'll kind of meander around and I'll do my, quality control, and I'll try some, because none of those machines are ours. For the most part, they're all contributed through third party supports like Starport Arcade, or the people at PAC, which is Pittsburgh Arcade Collective, or members of our community, Pittsburgh Retro Gaming and Pittsburgh Modern Gaming. Those communities will provide hardware. I mean, some of it is owned by the convention, but very, very little of it, because that creates a significant amount of overhead to maintain it throughout the year. So we, bring those machines, through collaboration, and to get to walk around the show floor during the show when I don't get time to go up and just give quality control to anything. It is such a rewarding experience to look around the show floor and see people engaging with it, maybe with their kids. Maybe their kids have never seen an arcade cabinet, or maybe they've never seen that arcade machine or that pinball machine, and they get to see that for the first time, like God Hand. You got to see that for the first time.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool about this year is, so the hall that was the entire show last year, this year is dedicated to only console gaming and arcade cabinet and pinball. So yeah, I see your eyes there. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's a massive expansion of that footprint of the show. And like you said, it's free play. So, and people would come up to our staff and ask us, hey, where's the quarter machine so I can play these games? No, they're all free play. Every single thing. You paid your price of admission to be able to play these machines. So we don't want to like milk you. Hey, it's the whole time you're there. We want you to have a good time and bring your kids and experience that for the first time. That for me is something that I really enjoy about the show, is be able to bring that, because like you said, it's about watching the community do that thing together that they can't do on their own. Nobody could do it by themselves. The community has to make. And so I'll get off my soapbox now. But
no, I mean, that's honestly, fine.
Yeah, but Colt, like I'll let you touch upon that too.
Basically the same sentiment. Like, it's great. It's very, I don't want to say frustrating, but 364 days or 63 days out of the year, whatever, we're just behind the scenes busting our butts to make this happen. And then 2 days out of the year, it happens. And seeing all that hard work come into, explode into 2 days of just awesomeness, seeing so many people have a good time. Like last year, I almost got emotional, like watching the cosplay showcase go down, because there was like 200 people sitting around just like having a great time watching these cosplayers come up on stage. And I was like, I created this, like this is cool. And that's what makes me want to do it the next year and go through all the stress of making it happen the next year.
Yeah, and there's so much to the show. And I just sounds like, of course, we're going to say that, right? It's our show. I completely forgot about the cosplay.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up.
Brought it up. It's like, oh my God, yeah, like that element of the show, to see how people like bring their passion to that. And like my kids are like wanting to get into cosplay now because of it and things like that. And I just, they're everywhere you look. There's just somebody gushing over the geekdom in a way that is a true love letter. And that's awesome to get to be part of for a weekend.
I was going to say, I'm not big into the cosplay scene, but I know you had a couple of, I want to say, fairly well-known cosplayers from the area that were there last year. Plus you had, there was a Star Trek group, there was a Halo group, there were folks from the 501st,
yeah,
and Rebel Legion there.
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. Plus there were a ton of just people wandering around in costumes that apparently just dressed up to come to the show.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. The 501st guys, or actually Rebel Legion guys, brought their full scale motorized R2 unit, which was pretty darn cool in my opinion.
Yeah, and I actually had people reach out to me after the show and be like, man, where did this R2 unit come from? And how do I get them at my bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, confirmation party, graduation party? I'm like, well, hold on, it's a charitable organization. Let me reach out and see what I can do. But like that kind of stuff's awesome, because like, I mean, I posed for a picture with the droid because I thought it was awesome, You don't see that kind of stuff very often. I went to Disney and I didn't see an R2 unit rolling around Galaxy's Edge.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were doing the panel we did last year. We got to witness a stormtrooper help a little girl pick up her candy.
It was quite an experience.
Things you only get to see at a gaming convention.
Right. Well, I wanted to ask, you had mentioned Starport. Is that the same Starport out of Morgantown, West Virginia?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to go pay them a visit. They're about 10 minutes from my house. So I got to go talk to some people.
Yeah, Chris Myers is either the owner or one of the owners. Sorry, Chris, if you're listening. And he is huge in the arcade scene. And he's involved in a couple different arcades, but I know Starport is probably his largest operation. And he's been a huge supporter of the show ever since we pretty much launched it in it was supposed to be 2020. But when the show finally got off the ground post-COVID, 2021, we had needed to fill a void in the show because the entity we were going to partner with was no longer able to fulfill that obligation due to what COVID did to everything. And we sat down and we talked with Chris. He goes, "Yeah, we can make this happen. Yeah, absolutely." And he supported the show. This will be his third year now involved in the show, and he brings a very sizable chunk of what's on that show floor that you enjoy, the pinball and the arcades. And then he kind of teams up with the members of PAC, which is run by Mike Huff, and they work together to help us create a vision for when we want the show floor, the arcade floor to look like. But yeah, I mean, Starport, absolutely, they're local, and I know he's got that location. I believe he has another one. I'm sorry, I'm doing a terrible job plugging him, but yeah, he's somebody who cares very deeply about what's going on with the local scene. So yeah, I would strongly encourage you to check him out.
We should be over 100 arcade and pinball this year machines.
Oh wow!
And just to add, like, some of these arcade machines, they're not just the classic old single, stand up. Like, there was a couple there last year. I remember I want to say the double width, 2-player sit in the cabinet things. Like, it's not just little stuff. There's lots of
and what's wild about those are some of those are brought by community members, and we don't help them get them there. We basically tell them, "Hey, bring an arcade cabinet. You get in for the weekend, and every machine you bring, you get to bring an additional person with you. And if you sell the machine, so long as it stays on the show floor running for the entire weekend, we don't care if you sell it. Like, they're allowed to do that. It's a swap meet type deal."
Okay, so you've got that going on behind the scenes too.
Exactly, and they'll label their machines. I don't want to say every machine on the floor is for sale, but money talks.
Yeah,
so
some of it's like a
very
car
possibly.
Show. You bring your fanciest car to the car show. Some of these guys have like really cool, rare, special arcade games that they're bringing just to show off.
And you can have a really cool synergistic experience with around that too. So one of the guests that we had at the show last year, who we are actually going to have again this year, is Paul Niemeyer. And a lot of people know him for being one of the original concept artists for elements of the Mortal Kombat cabinet, the original Mortal Kombat cabinet. What they don't know, because he's not as well known for it, but we hope to change that, is he's involved in a bunch of other machines, art design. And one of them is Tron, which is an amazing machine if you've ever seen it. And if you've never seen it, you should see it. And so he will be there, and maybe you could buy that Tron off of whoever owns it and then ask Paul Niemeyer to sign the marquee for you. I mean, where else are you going to get the opportunity to do that all in one go? I'm not making any promises you'll be able to buy the machine if you see it there, but the opportunity might exist.
Yeah. No, like I said, it was kind of, I mean, for me anyway, it was a little shocking just to see it all last year, and sounds like you're going to have about double or triple the arcade space. So that should be really exciting.
Yeah.
That was the mandate by them. Whenever we told them, like, "Hey guys, this the footprint we're going to allow you to have this year." Like, all right, it's 100 machines then. I was like, I mean, we could leave room for other stuff. It's like, no, it's 100 machines.
Yeah, we got
okay.
Tim Kitzrow coming, who is the voice actor for NBA Jam.
I saw that.
That's cool.
So you
That's
can
so
go
cool.
get your picture taken with him next to his arcade machine, or maybe he'll want to do commentary on someone's game or something. It could be cool,
Yeah, and we're going to have NBA Jam on the show floor. Like, we made sure we lined that up. We tried to do it with Mortal Kombat last year. We couldn't make it happen. Those things are harder to find than you think. But we had Tron there. But this year we know we're going to have NBA Jam there. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have NFL Blitz there too. And if I'm not mistaken, Tim does the play-by-play on NFL Blitz as well.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
If I wasn't already excited, I'm very excited.
So just because obviously it's more what maybe most of our listeners are the tabletop side of things. I know you've got our friend Alex Thomas coming back. Who else do you have on the tabletop side of things? I know there were a couple other people we were trying to help you get lined up, and through their scheduling, whatever didn't work. But
yeah, no, hey, I appreciate that though. I really do. Because trust me, we're going to stay on that list. We're going to get those people. So long as the show continues to exist, I'm going to continue to work on those. And earlier this year, like try to get to it earlier. But yeah, so I'm glad you asked about that because I'm actually really excited about some of the tabletop people that we have. They're social media, content creators, influencers, and some of them are published as well. And yeah, so we have Alex Thomas is coming back to the show. We have Todd A. Smith, who is an artist who's worked on some tabletop products as well. We are also bringing 2 new guests from outside of the Pittsburgh region to the show. The first one is Baron DeRop of Dungeon Masterpiece. And I don't know if you ever watched his show on YouTube or whatnot, but he is excellent. He does a deep dive into game mechanics and Dungeon Master, Game Master, like inspiration, fuel, things like that, and how, just he breaks it down in a way that I can't even really explain well how he breaks it down, but I watch him to run my games. And we were able to bring him in. He's from well out of state, and he was really excited about the show. So we're bringing him in. He's doing 3 panels.
Nice.
The first thing he said to me is, I don't want to run any games. It'll chew up too much of my time, but I would like to run 3 panels. I would like to record them, for whatever purposes. So he's going to do live recordings of the show, Dory PGX, and he's going to bring his flair to the show. And it's something I'm really looking forward to. The other guest that we're bringing to the show is Bob Worldbuilder of Bob Worldbuilder and Grace World Destroyer, also of Bob Worldbuilder. And they're also a couple of folks who I watch. I consume their content on social media to help me run better games. Bob Worldbuilder has recently inspired me to give Dungeon Crawl Classics a shot. And, it's awesome that we've been able to expand the show to the point where now we can start to bring in industry influencers and published, content creators, authors like Alex to get to sit down and talk with people about the industry or, just about, like the content that they create or whatnot. And we're not just viewed as a video game show. And a big part of that's thanks to you guys, because we really don't want it to just be viewed as that video game show. Level Up Podcast. Plug them on your podcast. Sorry if that's faux pas.
Scott, but, no. Scott and Pat are cool people.
Yeah, Scott and Pat, they did interviews during the recap of PGX 2022, and that was one of the things that Pat talked about in his recap. Was he was like, "Oh yeah, it's the retro video game show," and then he got there and he was like, "Whoa, this is not a retro video game show. This is a gaming show," and there's a serious tabletop element to this show that needs to be recognized. And yeah, he actually gives the tagline quote to the end of that trailer. I love it. I could sit there and listen to it on repeat. It says, I could spend a month here. Yeah. And he's not wrong. I mean, there's so much tabletop RPG content smashed into the show. And now with the guests that we're bringing in, we're just expanding upon that. And I already have a list of individuals that I've spoken to and couldn't make it happen this year. And that if this year goes off really, really well, they are like some of the first people I'm talking to.
Cool.
For 2024. I don't want to, spill any beans prematurely, obviously, but there's some people that I'm really, really excited for, and they're on my bucket list. I'm a really busy guy. I don't get to travel to shows, so some of these people are people at shows that I would love to meet, and I can't get to where they are because I don't have time. But maybe I can get them to come to Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, well, like it was so cool, and then just to meet other local gamers, and vendor wise, I mean, you had a ton of people with assorted video game and gaming stuff is the best way to say it, right? I mean, you had a bunch of people selling older video games, but there were people with consoles. There were people with, for lack of a better word, those cool video game toys, just stuff, video gaming adjacent stuff like various art things. You had a couple people there that published their own games and were displaying them. So it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some absolutely beloved developers in Pittsburgh, or Pittsburgh. They're Pittsburgh adjacent, or they just love Pittsburgh. Like Tunnel Monster Games coming back again this year. They really loved the show and were really, really enamored with even though it's a smaller show by all stretch of the imagination when you compare it to things like PAX Unplugged and Gen Con and Origins, whatnot. Sure, it's a smaller show, but that's not necessarily a disadvantage because those larger shows are dominated by larger brands. And so for local developers, this gives them an opportunity to meet people because the attendee pool is not local purely. Like you're getting international and some, national travel for people to come to the show. So Tunnel Monster Games, they really love that element of it. Larry Wick with Game Wick, Pittsburgh 68. I think that's it. I always screw up the numbers on the back end of it. But yeah, he was right away, when we were sitting down on Saturday night, the first night of the show, he's like, I'm coming back. Like, I don't normally tell showrunners that immediately, but I loved your show. It's a good fit for what I do because I do a zombie thing and you're in zombie land and I want to come back. So he's coming back and he's got a new project that I really, really hope that he has ready for convention time that he can demo and show off to folks. He told me a little bit about it, but I don't want to spill the beans for him. So I'm going to keep my trap shut on that. But stuff like that, I mean, being able to sit down and actually sit and talk with with a developer of a game, whether it be a video game or a tabletop game, is a really cool experience. And some of the things you suggest might even end up in their game or their next project.
Well, and see, like that's something I can say. Just you're talking about that with these developers and creators, right? Because of what we do here on the podcast, and I guess we're creators in our own right, but we get to talk to lots of different game designers and creators and developers and whatever. And the thing that has struck me with every one of them is, and I'm sure you, Brian, having been around games, you used to think about, oh, these people that write these books must be amazing, awesome, these mystical people that live somewhere in this, whatever. And then we get to talk to them, and it's like, oh no, they're just normal nerds like us. Like every bit of it, like
yeah, and it's all hustle and grind for them. I mean, it really is like they can't. These are not self-sustaining business ventures for them in that maybe that's all they do for a living. Like it's very much like PGX is for us. It's a thing that they do alongside of everything else that they do.
Right. And in many cases it is. And the few that are lucky enough to be quote unquote full time often have either multiple things they're, working on, or like some of them have gone into, game design education to supplement things. But it's just amazing, the little side conversations we'll get into, like after we turn the recordings off with some of these people about, whatever. And it's like, I didn't expect that to come out of, but yeah, they're such cool, normal people. So, all right, tabletop, video games, cosplay, and then, oh, that's right. It's also basically a day-long concert event.
Yep.
I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to let Colt talk about this because this is Colt's baby. This is his part of the show that he fights tooth and nail for with me to approve budgets and everything like that every year. So I'm going to shut up.
Yeah, people in bands, that's a good chunk of the budget, but it's also like one of the more entertaining aspects of the show is getting to come listen to some nerdy band play video game related music. And we tried to take a vision from shows like Magfest and like Too Many Games, where it's all the different aspects of video game culture, but kind of compartmentalizing it into like a smaller show, because we're not 15-20,000 attendees size show, but we're getting some really cool bands coming that are filling all different aspects of the video game area. Like last year we had Master Sword, who was just a power metal band who sang about the Legend of Zelda. This year we're getting like bands like Night of the Round, who is all Final Fantasy themed music. Just all kind of different stuff. We have a good lineup this year. We have a mix of like rock and synthwave and pop and metal, and trying to blend it all together into like one cool day-long event. And this year we're trying to space it out too. I know like there was sometimes last year we had like panels going on at the same time as like bands, and we're staggering them this year so that they're not overlapping with each other.
So long as we can.
Yeah.
Because we're getting actually pretty aggressive support from the community, where we may not be able to do that. So anybody who listens to this now and they show up for the convention, like, what do you mean? This band's overlapped. As long as we can, but we don't want to turn panels away either. So
yeah, the entire area last year where the arcade and the game lounge is basically going to be one big show floor for the stage and bands and music.
Okay, that's cool, and that'll let you also kind of compartmentalize the noise a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not to, like I said, I don't mean to say that it was bad, because it was good music. It was just sometimes you were trying to do other things, and it was just made it a little hard to communicate. But like you said, you've addressed that, so
yeah, we basically we don't know what we're doing.
Well, it's a guinea pig experience every single time. We're like, maybe this will work. I don't know. Maybe if we point the speakers to the back of the building.
Well, but I mean, look, even as a podcaster, you can look up all the stuff you want about the technical, this, that, and everything. If you aim the mic this way and put this thing over here and whatever, and it sounds like crap, and you just hang a bunch of random crap around, and all of a sudden it sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, it is trial and error. Despite the science that can go into it, you're dealing with. Plus, you have the variable of how many bodies are in the room that really affects your noise levels.
Yeah.
Who all do we have on the lineup this year for the music? I always forget one.
The lineup for the bands this year is a band called Thrill Killer. They're like a synthwave pop band. We have Psycho Stick, which we were talking about earlier. They're just silly, funny, random. I don't even know what genre I would put them in, honestly.
I mean, it's kind of like metal.
It's kind of metal. It's comedy metal, I guess.
They sort of fall into that comedy metal band. They're like the go-to comedy metal band in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Numbers is hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
That band is hilarious. And I've heard nothing but good things about those people.
I just remember, like E-Bombs World and stuff like that. The websites, they would always have like those cartoons, and they had like the "Let's go drink some beer" video. That was Psycho Stick back in the day. We have a group called Gunderslam, which is a bunch of people from different bands that come together for this one project, and they do like video game related metal music. Lame Genie, they're a lot of fun. They're a party metal video game band, and we did have another band, but they just dropped off. But then we have Essinger coming, who's like a really big up and coming synthwave artist. It's like pop synthwave, and he's huge now. He's getting really big. And I've seen it. I think checked the other day. He has like 400 and some thousand monthly listeners on Spotify.
Nice.
I'm excited about Essinger. I'm excited about all of them, but I'm excited about Essinger because they just randomly pop up in my playlist, like on Spotify. Like I won't even be like looking for Essinger. I'll be listening to something like random, like Dave Matthews Band, and then Essinger will pop up eventually in the rotation. Yeah, it's just like based on music that I might like and things like that. Same thing with Psycho Stick.
Yeah, our sound guy went out and got a few new bass speakers because he knew we were going to be heavy on the synth wave this year, so he wanted to make sure that it sounded good. So we definitely up in the production on the stage side of things a lot, which is why we moved things around so that there would be more space for the sound and the volume to try to not have it overpower any one part of the show. But it's going to be right next to the arcade this time again, but in a separate room. So if you're playing some arcade or some video games or whatnot, you'll have the music playing. But if you're over on the vendor hall or over where tabletop's going to be or anything, it's not going to be blaringly in your face.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited. I'm really excited, and I don't even know, what. Jeez, because I know I've already signed up to run at least one game.
There are so many games scheduled for this year. That's the thing. As this show grows, I find it's hard, like, to pinpoint exactly what the one thing is that I'm excited about it. And if I don't have a clear objective when I start talking about it, I just kind of go all over the place. But yeah, I mean, like, hey, you've signed up to run a game, which on the list that I have in front of me, I don't know which one of these is yours, but like, we have people running Havoc Blade, Mutants and Masterminds. There's some 5e getting run because it's still the most popular system, even though we had OGL Gate this year. We still have some 5e getting run. The guys at Pat and Scott, they're running, a board game thing where they're going to be running multiple games. Savage Worlds, G.I. Joe, Bubble Gumshoe, Havoc Brigade, again, Tiny Dungeon 2E, Star Wars, Feng Shui 2. Yeah, I mean, there's just Call of Cthulhu, Mutants and Masterminds. Yeah, it's hard to nail down one thing. Like, you kind of got to come to the show and be like, either I've got a very specific plan,
mm-hmm.
or I'm just going to kind of walk in and let it wash over me. Wherever I end up, I end up. We had people, we had a tabletop, or we had a video game influencer last year who had never played tabletop games end up playing their first tabletop RPG. And then I saw them on social media months after the show saying, wow, I really enjoyed that at PGX. Are there any local games in Texas? Because I would really like to continue playing tabletop. And same thing with you, Steve. You said, like, I mean, obviously you run a tabletop podcast, but you said you spent a ton of time in the arcade.
Yeah, I that's where I spent a lot of my time because I love tabletop and I love your con for tabletop. But man, I am a sucker for arcade games and I'm a sucker for old video games, and just hanging out and being there was where I wanted to be most of the time.
Yeah, and that's also part of the reason why we kept the arcade close to the music to bring back to the music a bit. It's really, really cool being able to listen to like live music while playing old school games, or maybe even new school games, and that sound is going to kind of like waft out of the concert hall into the arcade, and so you'll get to enjoy both. But if you like really, like, I've never seen Messenger live, and I want to see them, I want to be there in that moment. You can now do that without competing with the arcade backdrop of sound.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have a more pure experience with the music.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, all right, all this big awesomeness, what's it going to set people back to get in the place? Just because I know people are going to be wondering that.
Yeah, so right now, if you buy your badges right now, we always run a discount promo leading up to the days of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And the leading up to the days of the show, right now, if you buy your badge for the weekend, for the entire weekend, and I challenge anyone listening to this to go and look at any other shows within an hour drive of Pittsburgh that offer everything that PGX offers, and see if you would get it at this price. For the weekend, you get in for $35. And if you have kids, I have kids, Colt has a daughter, we understand kids make everything so much more expensive. And with the way things went up this year with inflation, we couldn't reduce costs. We couldn't reduce badge costs. Those went up from last year. $35 is an increase for us if you pre-buy. It goes up the weekend of the show. I want to say it goes up $10 a badge the weekend of the show to $45 for the whole weekend.
Man, that is killer.
If you have children really 12 and under with a legal guardian, that $35 badge gets 3 of you in. Gets 2 kids 12 and under in for free, and it gets the legal guardian in for free as well. I mean, I can't even take my kids to the movies for $35.
No.
And that's a whole weekend.
Yeah, that's all the bands, all the games, coming to play any of the tabletop that you want, because we have the whole library that you can just go check out a game and sit down and play it if you want.
I was going to say that's, I guess he's one of your vendors, sponsors of the show. Local Game Shop brings his in-store game library in, which is
the whole thing.
Yeah. Phil at Game Masters, mad love for Phil. When we started talking about this, he goes, you know what? I really like what you guys are doing, and I want to help make it better. So I will loan whatever you want of my in-store free-to-play library to the show. So yeah, that's all part of that package. And then that's just the weekend price for $35. You have a Saturday price, you have a Sunday price. Saturday is $25, and then Sunday is $20. And guess what? If you buy a Sunday or Saturday badge, you're still getting 2 kids in for free that are 12 and under. We're not holding that. Maybe we're insane. Maybe we should reevaluate this. But I know how hard it is as a parent. We both do, to take kids to something. And to me, like I said earlier, one of the most enriching things I take away from this is seeing like people I know with their kids having that moment of like sharing their childhood or their nostalgia with them. So that was the adjustment we made this year. Even though prices went up, we increased the free admission age from 10 years of age and under to 12.
Okay.
So if your kid would have aged out this year, if they were 10, and maybe that became cost prohibitive for you and you couldn't go to a convention now, well, guess what? We got you. We're going to make sure that you can get you and your family into the show as economically as possible while staying afloat.
Okay.
But to get those discounts, you got to buy your badges online now. I can't stress that enough.
Dates, am I correct in saying, because I just realized we haven't even mentioned the dates while we've been talking about this for close to an hour. It's September 30th and October 1st, correct?
Yes, September 30th, October 1st. Saturday runs from 11 a.m. until about 11:30, midnight-ish, but really like 11:30. And you can come and go. You got your badge on, you can come and go. The hotel, we've partnered with the Doubletree Monroville. That's right there, walking distance.
Yeah, this is last year's badge.
Yeah, and they're great. We'll have them again this year. But yeah, the hotel's right there. So like, from 11 to 12 is a long day. It's a really long day for $35 if you do it both days, but it's worth it. You can go back to the hotel and chill out for a little bit and then come back. And the hotel room rates are really reasonable. We managed through our talks with them to explain, hey, we're still a growing show. We don't want to become too cost prohibitive. We want everybody to do well by this. They only increased lodging on our group rate by $3. So I think last year it was $109 a night. Now it's $100.
Considering what everything else has gone up.
Exactly. So we're really, really fighting tooth and nail. And we're doing this thing on a shoestring budget. Like we really are. So that's like the biggest thing I think we could stress here is we're keeping it reasonable. We're keeping it jam-packed with quality, and we want people to come and have a good time.
And we plan on keeping it like this, as cheap as we possibly can, because it's all about the community. We do this for the city, and we want everybody to come and have a good time and not have to break their bank to do it.
Yeah, and if you're not from Pittsburgh, travel is expensive. Gas is expensive. Getting places, feeding the little people that you're going to bring to the convention is expensive. So we want you to, like, even if you're coming from a distance, we want you to feel like you're comfortable enough to do that. Come take a weekend and stay at the hotel and hang out at the convention all weekend. And they've got a hotel restaurant there. There's food at the venue. There's stuff to do around nearby. Make it a long weekend. Come to PGX on the 30th and the 1st, and maybe check out Pittsburgh for the first time. If you've never actually explored the city, you could do that. There's plenty of stuff to do around it. Buying the badge for the weekend isn't like, well, that's all I had allocated for the entire trip. It's like, you buy your badges. You might have to buy a couple. Parents, you've got 2 parents, you have to buy $70 worth of badges. And if all your kids are 12 or under, they're all and there's only 4 of them. They're only getting it for free. They're all getting it for free. So that's you're getting a family of 6 in for $70.
Yeah,
If you buy your badges online,
that's cheap, really. And I will just add too, just for people who aren't familiar with the area, the hotel they're speaking of basically shares a parking lot with the convention center. It's not even like get in your car and drive, across the parking lot. It's easy walking distance.
Yeah, I mean, I stay there the whole weekend. Like, I check in on Friday, and I don't leave until this year. I'm not leaving until like Monday. After show tear down and everything's done. It's super convenient. We wish it were connected. It's not, but it might as well be.
Yeah, I was going to say it's as close as you can get without being, really.
And where they can find these badges at. So our website is pittsburghgamingexpo.com. That is a redirect. It's something we're going to fix here in the future. We've just been so busy cramming as much into the show as we can that we haven't done little housekeeping things like that. So it'll redirect you to pghretrogaming.com, but you could just put in pittsburghgamingexpo.com. That'll bring you to the website. We are gradually making updates to it as we go. The schedule isn't up there yet or anything because we're a small team and everybody's stretched to the max on this thing. So updates will come out as we are abundantly confident that they are not going to change, because we don't want to have to redact information in a bunch of different places and maybe miss something or continually change it when that's time that we could be spending making the show better while you're there. So so the bands are announced on there. We've begun to announce some of our guests from this year, and
buy tickets. You can pre-order shirts. We're doing a cool design this year that's not just like the regular Pittsburgh Gaming Expo design. We had one of our featured cosplayers actually designed like a Mega Man type logo design for us this year that you can pre-order when you buy your tickets as well.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't even think we mentioned all the guests that we've announced yet. Like, there's just so much to this year that it's like we have some returning guests like Paul Niemeyer. One that I'm actually really, really happy about. I've been talking to this gentleman for years, trying to get into the show, is John Riggs of Rig Gaming. So if you follow like Metal Jesus and that crew, John Riggs, he's out of Yakima, Washington. So getting him to Pittsburgh is no mean feat. There are not a whole lot of direct flights, and you ain't walking. So yeah, we brought him in this year. John Riggs is going to be on hand at the show. We mentioned Ted Ketzero, Barrett DeRop. We mentioned Paul Niemeyer. We mentioned Mr. Rightway, Steve Wright. Yeah, I'm going to rename the show the Pittsburgh Steve Expo because we have so many Steves involved with the show. And it's not just you two and Mr. Rightway. Like, there's more Steves. It's but yeah, so Mr. Rightway, he's going to be returning. Alex Thomas is coming back, and obviously we have you guys, and we have more guests that we haven't even announced yet that are going to be at the show. Once we get their marketing material done, we're going to make those announcements. So we're working on those final details. Yeah, and it's more of everything.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. I am so happy to hear it.
I was going to say, folks, if you can make it, it is a fun time. Like Brian said, it's super affordable, aside from it being on the other side of Pittsburgh from the airport. But that's because Pittsburgh is weird that way. Everything is on the other side of Pittsburgh from the airport.
It's not even that hard to get there.
It's not. It's really not. And if you're a tabletop gamer, one of the big pieces of feedback that we got last year, other than the music element of it, was the scheduling for tabletop RPGs. And we're doing our best because we did get quite a bit of turnout from our alumni game masters from previous years. We always give them first crack at coming back. We actually consolidated the schedule a little bit in that, like last year, what time did we start, Steve? We started at like 11 a.m.
something like that
on Saturday or something, like pretty much when the doors opened.
Yeah, I want to say the first games happened at like 11:30, right after doors open, and it was
right.
I mean, I had one of those games, so
yeah, I did also.
and part of the logic behind that was we wanted you guys to get freed up as quick as you could, so that you could enjoy the show.
Right.
It did accomplish that. It didn't necessarily accomplish significant engagement with your game. And so for that, I apologize. And what we've done this year is I'm just looking at Saturday's schedule right now, the back end, and we expanded the number of tables that we have. So like last year, I think we had 12, 16 maybe. We have 25 tables dedicated just to scheduled tabletop RPGs. And we chunked them out into 4-hour blocks like we've done in the past, but we have 2 brackets that kind of overlap. The first bracket of games starts at 2 p.m. on Saturday, and that's about 9 tables worth of games. And then the next bracket of games starts at 4 p.m. And then we have another bracket that starts at 6 p.m. And then the final bracket that starts at 8 p.m. So we saw a lot of people playing games later into the evening, but not a lot of people wanted to engage with the content really early in the show. So this way it allows people a few hours to walk around, enjoy the show, and then go find some games that they can play in. Now, granted, you're not going to get to be able to play in everything. I mean, that's not realistic anyway. But you could play in, if all you wanted to do is come to PGX, and while I don't necessarily know that I would do this myself because there's so much stuff to do, you could show up at 11 o'clock on Saturday and meander around the show floor until 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock and still get to play in 8 hours of tabletop RPG potentially because of how the blocks are staggered. And then Sunday's a little bit more tricky for us because it is a shorter show. It only runs from 11 to 5. So there's only really one block. But what's nice about that one block is we have almost all the tables allocated. So we don't want to overdo it because we don't want like too many games and not enough players. But we're hoping we hit a better balance this year of, people engaging with scheduled free RPG content. The only negative, but it's also positive of that, is if you prep a game and nobody shows up to play your game after a reasonable amount of time, you're off the hook. Right. And you got into the show at no cost because we comp all of our game masters. If you get selected, you get into the show.
We got something special lined up potentially for the game masters this year too.
Yeah, we're trying to do a little bit extra because we're just rolling in the bucks. So we want to spread that capital as thin as possible. So we're going to dig in and we're going to try and give our GM something a little special to walk away with. Hopefully we can make it happen.
Well, that sounds. Look, I was coming anyway, so I mean, you don't have to sell me, but I would really, like I said, anybody who's out there listening, those out in Gamer Nation, other parts of our Gamer Nation radio network here, this is a fun little show. Come out, have some fun. I intend to rock a very easy to find shirt. So if you're looking for me, just look for the short fat guy in a Van Halen print Hawaiian shirt. And I'll probably be the only one there. Are you two wearing your trademark garb this year as well?
Yeah, I will be clad in my Pac-Man blazer. And yeah, Colts, yours is what, Tetris?
Tetris,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, we make quite the pair when next to each other. You will be scrambling around like madmen all over the show floor in those jackets. So we actually, the first year we did the show, one of our volunteer staff showed up wearing one of those. And I was like, oh, no. That's not going to happen. Yeah, there's only 2 people in this show that get to wear these. And trust me, you don't want to be the guy wearing this jacket because we catch it all. But yeah, and one thing I didn't want to forget is regarding like tabletop sessions, we are still taking applications. I'm not sure when you guys are going to air this, but as of right now, we're still. Okay. So today is the 19th of July. So the next Tuesday is going to be, we should still be taking submissions.
The
25th of July. Yeah, we're still taking submissions for that. My goal is not to maybe necessarily fill the schedule because I want there to be a good balance. But if the demand is there, we'll do what we can. And if the submissions are quality, I think that's key. Like they've got to be like, something people want to play, but they don't have to be works of Shakespeare by any stretch of the imagination. But they have to be fun, engaging, thoughtful submissions. And I really want to make this the year of the non-mega game publisher. When everything went down earlier this year, I kind of felt it that was my mandate, was to give a voice and a platform to smaller games, or maybe not even smaller games, but less played games. So if there's something you want to run, please send us a submission. You can go to the website, pittsburghgamingexpo.com, and find the Game Master submission page, and just send us a submission, and we'll get you into the schedule wherever the openings are, and we'll get back to you within probably the next month or so. We are going to be closing those down because we do have to start to finalize our schedule. But if we get openings, which does sometimes happen, we'll get game masters who will not be able to attend, and they'll let us know in advance. We'll open up their time slot if we have enough in advance notice, and we'll go to our wait list just like we do with our exhibitors, or with our panel submissions as well. We'll try to fill that opening. But it's a way to get into the show for free, and you bring something cool to the community, and maybe you find a table, or maybe you find players for your table for your home game. Maybe you find a new game that you want to play. I think it's a really cool opportunity, and you get to run whatever you want, pretty much. You could run Morkborg or Alien RPG or Cyborg or EZD6 or Index Card RPG. It's kind of like a juiced up free RPG day.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Yeah. I need to get my submission in. I just finalized my game. I don't think you're not running Hell Knight, Steve, are you?
No.
You're running Havoc Brigade?
I'm running Havoc Brigade.
So I have...
By the way, go ahead.
No, I have on the back burner this really awesome, and have been wanting to play it for a while now. It's a, how do I describe it? Heavy metal biker from hell RPG.
80s
Sounds
Doom,
rad.
Heavy metal Doom biker game. Yeah, I was actually going to run it last year, but the prints didn't come out, and then people didn't sign up.
So,
but yeah,
I'll be.
It's a cool looking game.
I'll be hoping to run that if I can get in the schedule. But when early submission came out, I was I was in between some life stuff and was like, I don't even know if I can make it this year.
Well, I'm happy to hear that you're going to be able to make it.
Yeah, now that we're in July, I'm like, I'm definitely going to make it. I got to get my shit in gear.
Yeah. And I think another part of the conversation that we often overlook, because we're kind of like mired in this hobby so much already, is the casual attendee who's never played tabletop RPGs. Don't allow this to be something that intimidates you.
Right.
You want people to get exposure to the hobby through this. So everyone who's running a game at the convention understands that somebody might sit down at their table and does not know what a polyhedral is. And if I'm talking to new people, which is not likely on here, but if you listen to this podcast and you have friends that you want to expose to tabletop gaming, or you're a game master and you want to expose your friends to new tabletop games, get them to come into the show and get them to sit down and play. That was one of the most enriching. I kind of got to experience like a bite of the show this year at Free RPG Day. That's why I brought it up at Phil's Game Masters Pittsburgh in Westview. He did a really good Free RPG Day this year, where he had a bunch of tables running, different things. None of them were Dungeons and Dragons. So a lot of them were kind of like Dungeons and Dragons akin, and some of them were totally different. I got to sit down as somebody who's a forever GM, and I got to play Cyberpunk Red. I got to play Alien, and I got to play Transformers G.I. Joe. I never get to play those games. And I'm pretty sure we have at least one 4-hour session of each of those running in the schedule this year. So if you want to play these kinds of games, but you don't have a table to play them with, or your table doesn't want to play them, this is an opportunity for you to do it. Maybe I'll actually get Colt to play a tabletop RPG this year. Yeah, not likely. We're so busy, but it's always my goal to try to get him to sit down.
Hey man, you had me at the heavy metal bikers game.
Yeah, it's sitting somewhere around here. I know.
Well, I'm pretty sure if Steve's free, he'll be there at that one too. So
yeah.
And the thing I'll say about that, Colt, is if you're interested and you have time, I'm very willing and able to teach new players how to play the games. And Steve knows I'm one of the. We're both good people with new players.
Well, and I'll say this too: the Hell Knight you're talking about specifically,
yes,
is one of those games. Do not be intimidated about. Oh, I got to learn a new system. The system for Hell Knight is 2d6.
Yes, it's about as light as it can be.
It's Monopoly.
Well,
Monopoly's more complicated.
I think Monopoly meets a Rob Zombie video.
Yeah. I'm so excited. You guys have no clue. I love this convention. I fell in love with it last year, and I am so excited to be back.
That does my heart good to hear that. It really does.
And Havoc Brigade, which I signed up to run, it is exactly what you'd think from the name, right? It's this game where the idea is, and Brian, you'll understand this. You know, all the crazy ideas your party comes up with and then goes, nah, we probably shouldn't. That's what you're supposed to do in Havoc Brigade. And you play as orcs trying to infiltrate a city. But it's designed as a convention one-shot game. So it's super simple system, just D6s, fistfuls of them, and I think you're trying to get a 4 or better. Just how many dice you can get 4 or over. One of the pre-generated characters is 6 goblins. You play all 6 goblins.
In a trench coat.
Well, the last time I ran this game, the players started off by, well, how are we going to get into the city? I know. We'll go owlbear hunting, and we'll take the skins of the owlbears, and we'll do like a Trojan horse as trained circus owlbears. That's where the game started.
It kind of reminds me of a Goblin Quest.
Yes. Yeah, it has that kind of same feel. Yeah. Well, to tell a story from last year, I played in probably one of the best Cyberpunk 2020 games I've played in a long time at PGX, and it was such a phenomenal game on a Saturday night, and it was that like last session of the evening type game, and it was just bonkers. It was brutal and fun and everything that system does, and I'm so excited.
And I'm glad. See, that's the kind of feedback I love to hear, because we almost cut the late games.
Oh no! Don't cut the late games. The late games are the best ones.
So
I'm telling you.
We're keeping them. You can play up until the show close.
Yeah, well, you were doing that. I was trying to not get eaten by Ewoks with one of your volunteers.
Right. Not to talk too inside baseball, but we went to another convention this year down in Texas for our podcast network. And I will say that late night game where everybody is loosened up and relaxed and just there to have a good time and doesn't care about, the only thing we have to do is be out of here when the con closes. That is the best type of game. That is the best game of the evening and hands down the best time slot.
Yeah, and by that point, the way we have the music slotted this year, the music will actually end a little bit before, I believe, the tabletop sessions will.
Music should be ending at like 10.
Okay.
So you still have like an hour and a half, 2 hours of gaming to do.
Yeah, the vendors will be probably closed down for the last sessions, or they'll be closing down. The music will be winding down, and you can just bask in that. We want the last thing that everybody does when they leave the show to be playing a game. If they leave at the end of the night, either leaving the arcade or leaving the tabletop area and coming back to do it the next day.
Just to speak on the arcade thing too, that's such an awesome feeling. It feels like you shut the arcade down, right? Like it's that old school feeling of like, oh man, I showed up at the arcade at 11 o'clock and I was there until I shut the place down.
Yeah.
And that's a great feeling.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is you can have a laundry list of like, look, I didn't get to play this or this on Saturday, but I can go back on Sunday and play and not have to pay again if you got the weekend badge and knock out those things that you didn't get to play. So yeah, that's one of the coolest things about it is it's not like, oh, well, I happened across an arcade somewhere. I have 35 minutes to explore it. And then, hopefully.
No, you have 2 days of awesomeness happening at the Monroville Convention Center.
Mm-hmm.
And we were even in talks of maybe in the future expanding the amount of days too.
Every time the show does well, we expand the show in some way. And this year, the major expansion was to the North Hall in conjunction with the South Hall for the total venue.
Mm-hmm.
And for next year, the community, you'll tell us, right? I guess that's our mandate to you. You tell us how big of a show you want, and we'll know by the support of the show. And honestly, like it seems odd. Why would we want you to buy your badges at a cheaper price when we can charge you more at the door? Because it lets us know in advance how strong the show is. It allows us to be bold in our planning of the show and take risks to bring in guests, bring in bands. I mean, heck, expanding to the whole venue this year is a risk, because the show exists by virtue of the support of the community. Like there's sponsorships, and we love our sponsors, but we don't have massive sponsorships. We're not backed by any major money holders. What's nice about that is we're not beholden to anybody either. We're beholden to our attendees and giving them a great experience and a great show. And if the attendees continue to grow the show, we'll do it. So please, like, buy your badges in advance. Tell your friends and family about it. And before I forget, because we're not giving enough away cheap, don't you guys have a discount code? I could have sworn that we created a discount code for you. Let me double check here.
Not that we're aware of yet, but
unless you and Alex discussed this, and Alex was supposed to tell one of us and didn't, we can blame Alex. He's not here.
Yeah,
I'll tell him you said it was his fault.
I mean, yeah. Let me double check here real quick. I'm pretty sure I created a discount code for you guys. Let's see here. I don't know. I will let you know. And if you guys want to make that known to your community, I'm sure we did. If I didn't, I will fix that.
I'm pretty sure I remember seeing it.
Yeah, it will get you guys, it'll get your listeners and anybody who gets or listens to the show, they will get an extra discount on top of the already discounted price. And it's just a way for us to say thank you to all you guys and to your audience for supporting the show. And yeah, I'm sorry I don't have that information on hand. I really thought I did.
No worries. We can always add that in, and we record episodes weekly, so putting that in future episodes is not a problem, or even going back and adding into this.
Yeah. Actually, so yeah, that's right. You're editing this. If you want to give me a second, I will find it. I keep thinking like...
just for the sake of expediency, while you look that up, why don't we move into Game of the Week?
Hey folks, Future Steve here, doing the edit. And Wizz has been kind enough to get back to me with that information. He actually found it while we were doing Game of the Week, but was so distracted and enthralled by Game of the Week that he forgot to actually say it while we were recording. So the discount code that you can enter on Pittsburgh Gaming Expo website to buy badges at a discounted rate as one of our listeners is TalkRPGs2023, all capitals and no spaces. So I'll also put that in text form in the show notes. Thanks. Woohoo! Game of the Week!
Game of the Week! Game of the
Week! All right, so I guess we'll do Game of the Week here. Now, Colt not having experienced this, unless he's listened to the show and is holding out on us, why don't we let you go later, or if you decide you don't want to, that's cool, or use whatever. Steve and I can go first, and we'll just roll from there. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, Joe, you or me, Steve?
You can go first. That sounds good.
All right. So I'm going to go with a little game I found this afternoon called The Brain Snatchers, which was part of Pocket Quest for this year, which is a little game jam thing. It's a sci-fi mini RPG with a roguelite touch. So the invasion of the Brain Snatchers was thwarted. Humanity won. Decades later, big corporations cloned their own brand of the aliens. And what you get to do in this game is play as a group of the Brain Snatchers. Tiny corporate spies take over human bodies and replace them. You get to infiltrate competing companies, use the skills of your host body, and if your body doesn't work, well, you just get a different one.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Little 20-page core book. Pay what you want. Suggested price is all of $3.50. Content warning, yes. You kind of assume the role of alien murderers that kill humans and take over their bodies. So, it gets dark. But still, kind of a cool little simple thing. Like I said, it's called The Brain Snatchers.
All right. I'll take next. I have a game by a company called Octopus Apocalypse. It is called... I
like the company name.
Yeah, it's called You Are Fish. What do you do? And it is...
Fish with an F or PH?
F.
Although, I was going to say, otherwise you just never stop the song.
Although, you could play You Are Fish, What Do You Do with the band Fish. So this is what I'm going to refer to as a collaborative aquarium storytelling game. Where everybody gets together and plays as fish and attempts to tell a story. Very rules light, very fun. It's all of $2 on DriveThruRPG for the PDF. It just looks like a good time. And so it's the players play as fish. Meanwhile, the GM or editor takes the players' ideas and tries to mold them into a somewhat cohesive story, which is my kind of game. Just hands down. That sounds like a thing I'm gonna throw in my bag and be like, okay, half the people didn't show up for D&D today, so you are fish. What do you do?
Those are the best kind of games. I love those games where
I have so many of those. I need to make like a book of them.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Now my go-to for that is Easy D6 by DM Scotty. I know we talked about it last time, but yeah, it's rules light enough that's just it, right? You know, like you can make a character in about like 5 minutes and jump right in and play. So that's cool. Like I love that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, that. I mean, you had a copy of ICRPG out for a second there. The Index Card RPG. I love that game. That's a great system.
That's another game I've never gotten to play. I own the books. I read the book. It's got a great GM advice section.
Oh yeah.
So I love that. I'll refer to it every once in a while. I need to get the creative juices flowing. But yeah, I would love to eventually try it. I haven't gotten to it yet. I deferred to Easy D6 instead and started running that.
Right. Well, do you two have anything you want to talk about? Either
Yeah, I have I'll throw in game of the week.
Okay.
Sure. I know I have all these indie, but I'm gonna actually go with a book by a larger publisher, by Free. Yeah. Alien RPG by Free League. Oh. I got to play this, like I said earlier, I got to play this at Phil's at Game Masters Free RPG Day. The gentleman who ran it sat next to me and played Cyberpunk Red with me, and I had a blast playing off of him. I played the lawman. He played the what was it? The hype man, whatever it is. The face. I don't think it's. I can't remember.
Fixer.
Yeah, the Fixer. He played the Fixer, and we played off each other. It was a lot of fun. Well, then he ran Alien after that, and all of my kids. My oldest is 14. My youngest is 10. We've watched all Alien 1 through 4. Some of them are TV edits. But we've watched them, and my kids absolutely love the franchise. And when I found out that he was running Alien, I was like, I've got to at least try it. I had a blast because it's not super rules like chunky. It's like a D6 system. And so then after that, I was like, I've got to get this and run it. So I picked it up. I picked up the starter set, the Adventure Destroyer of Worlds. I want to get the Colonial Marines books. It does such a good job of setting the atmosphere in Alien that whole anxiety, that paranoia where you don't trust anything, you don't trust your situation, you don't trust your co-players, anything. You don't know where it's going to come from. And my kids had a blast playing it because they know the franchise. I genuinely think if you have a competent GM who can set that like gritty, grim, creepy atmosphere, you don't even need to know the franchise because the tools are here, like with the stress dice and everything like that. And how like one of the coolest mechanics in this game, I think, is if I'm referring to it correctly, is the stress system. Is that every time you fail something, you get a stress die that you add to your pool. And that sounds like, well, that's a good thing, right? It's a power up. And the theory behind it is that when you're under intense stress, yes, you are stressed out, but your senses like focus in to laser precision, and you find that you can do things maybe that you could not normally. But when you screw up, things go bad in a big way.
Oh yeah, it just makes that game way more swingy, and that's such an awesome thing.
Exactly. So like you're building your dice pool by failing, but then when those stress die fail, this is the part of the system I don't really understand because I haven't run it yet. I haven't had an experience with it yet. Like big things happen. It's like panic dice or whatever like that. that get added in the pool. So it makes things really interesting. Character sheets are super easy to understand. Once you understand, it's a D6 system and you have core attributes and then you have a couple branching traits from there. And it's just D6 system. Like you're like, okay, the numbers on the sheet mean how many dice I'm rolling. And then I'm just looking for ones or sixes. There's no math. Like you're not adding them up. It's literally just I'm looking for a 1 if it's a failure, or I'm looking for sixes because those are successes. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. The franchise, the RPG franchise element of it seems like it's going strong. It's hard to get the books right now at times, but worth it. So that's my game of the week.
Yeah, I actually was going to buy that at PGX last year, but Phil sold the copy he had of it on the table before I got around to spending money.
That's what happened to me at Free RPG Day. I was going to buy the copy that he had, and it was gone by the time I was done playing Transformers G.I. Joe. And I didn't, so I ended up getting it later. But it's worth it. It's a gorgeous book.
Yeah, it is a fantastic book. That's a really great game. You've talked about Transformers G.I. Joe, and not to derail you, I don't want to derail this too far. How is that?
Is that fun, good? Especially if I feel like that is one of those games where you really benefit from knowing the IP.
Property.
Yeah, because when I sat down and I played it, so what I played was a mashup. It was a free RPG special adventure where they crossed over Transformers and G.I. Joe, which are their own RPGs.
Right.
They're by the same company.
It's basically the same game.
Exactly. The whole time I was playing in my mind's eye, because we played at Theater of the Mind, everything was in primary colors. Blue, red, green, yellow, everything was flat textures. If there was a laser turret that dropped out of the ceiling, it was flush with the ceiling, and was just a little box outlining it. Things like that. It was fun. It made sense. It wasn't super complicated. Character creation, which I didn't have any direct experience with, from what I understand, is a little bit crunchy. But if you're running pre-gens, which, I mean, heck, how many systems have pre-gen character generators out there now? I'm sure they've got one in the pipe, if not already out. That will really help. And what we played humans next to Transformers. So, it was fun. If you know those franchises, you're going to enjoy it. And it's just going to be, the nostalgia fuel dialed up to 11, because now you get to play and you get to do it. There's rules for like getting in the Transformers. If you're a human player and you're playing next to a friend who's playing a robot, you can get in, and there's mechanics for that. And even for like, if you don't get out before the Transformer transforms. So yeah, it's fun. And the books, I don't have the Transformers book. I may have to get it now. I have the G.I. Joe core book. Gorgeous. Again, gorgeous book. If you're just a fan of the art, the spreads in that book are gorgeous. So I can't recommend it enough. I had a lot of fun playing that.
That's cool. Yeah, glad to hear it.
All right. So you want to join the fray, Colt, or?
Does it have to be an RPG?
No, it doesn't have to be.
I have a game that I got not too long ago that I guess would be the last tabletop game I played. So I'm just gonna pick it because it's fun, and King of Tokyo.
Ooh, oh, that's such a great game. That's such a great game.
It's so much fun. It's one of those games where you just make enemies out of your best friends.
Yeah, it really is. King of Tokyo.
Where you could earn your nickname again, Steve.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's back when I used to play board games. That's where I got my nickname from. So yeah. But King of Tokyo is awesome though.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. We play it after band practice.
I've never played it. What kind of, it's a board game?
Yeah, so it's a board game where you're a monster and you're basically rolling dice trying to get hit points to attack other players to kill them.
Okay. Oh, I might need to get that, because
so is it like a kaiju battle royale over Tokyo kind of thing?
Yeah. So I guess there's a battle arena. So whenever only 2 people can be in the battle arena at one point in time, and you can only attack other players if you're in the battle area, but then you're also susceptible to being attacked, so you can choose whether you want to be in there or not. So it's up to you whether or not you want to be vulnerable or not. It's fun.
Cool. Sounds that way.
Yeah, it's a really good time. Well, thank you both for coming on. If you have anywhere you would like to plug, now would be the time to do it. Any notable social media or anything that you want people to know about you or even the con?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me make sure I don't butcher this because I always butcher it. So our main page for the convention is Pittsburgh Gaming Expo, and you can just put it right in like that. Google us, it'll come right up. Yeah, PittsburghGamingExpo.com. You can find us on Facebook we have two communities. We also have the convention page, which is Pittsburgh Gaming Expo on Facebook. And then we have two community groups that have kind of driven this thing. And one is Pittsburgh Retro Gaming, and the other is Pittsburgh Modern Gaming. And they're for all things gaming, not just video games. We are happy to hear people in either community talk about the modern tabletop games, modern board games, as well as modern video games, and as well as old school games and whatnot. And we are also on Instagram. Our Instagram is PGH Gaming Expo on Instagram, and yeah, we're at also on Twitter and this is probably going to change, but right now on Twitter, we're fighting with Twitter. They've blocked our actual official profile that has never been used. We never used it, but they blocked it, so we're working on that. But the one for Pittsburgh Retro Gaming is PGH Retro Gaming on Twitter, and yeah, that's where you can find all of our content. Again, the hub for all of that is PittsburghGamingExpo.com for the website.
Very cool. And the dates for the convention itself, September 30th, October 1st, Monroville Convention Center, which, if you're from out of town, is right outside of Pittsburgh. It's a great time, folks. Really great time.
And all of that is on our website, and our Ticketmaster for the show is tabletop.events as well. They're a great supporter of the show. They really help on the back end with making things happen. We've used lots of different ticket processing services in the past, and this is one that really kind of works for us, and it's going to help us grow the show. So I'd like to give them a shout out as well.
Cool. All right. Well, I think with all that, thank you both for taking the time to come chat about this.
Yeah, thanks for having
us.
Thank you for having us at the show.
Yeah. We want to thank everyone for listening, and as always, links to everything are in the show notes. And remind everyone to be kind to one another and get out there and play some RPGs.
Yep. Take care, y'all.
Intro and outro music by the band 12 Noon. You can email us at meandsteverpg@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter and RPGs. Find us on Facebook at Me and Steve RPG Podcast, on Discord at Me and Steve RPGs. And as always, all of these links are in the show notes. Thank you, and be kind to one another.
How much for the cigar?
Cigar, $20, dog. You gotta go down the street to the store and buy that.